singer thing to say.
Hi. Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ladies' Night with the ladies. Hello, everybody. I'm here with Debbie and with Andrea, and we're here to chat with and communicate with ladies past and present, to learn all about them, and to talk about women empowering women tonight. So thank you for joining us. And how are you guys? How are you, Debbie?
Good. I'm doing good. I get my little updates for the new grandbaby, so that's always fun to keep up. And you guys, she's changing so much on a daily, like hourly. I'm missing it all, but yeah, so that's fun. And yeah, just that's just a highlight in my life. So if people ask me how I'm doing, I always talk about that.
That's nice. And it's so nice around the holidays too to have something like that happen.
Yeah.
And how about you, Andrea?
I'm doing great. I was just noticing we're all in sweaters, so we're officially in sweater weather.
Shirt, but yes.
Sweater weather.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's snow on the ground here, so we're officially in it.
Oh my goodness.
Everything's going great. How are you doing, Kim?
Good. Cassie got home. Cassie and her husband got here safely and soundly, and we've just been catching up. They've been sleeping a lot because they just got here yesterday, so they've been sleeping quite a bit. But it's fun to have them home. And welcome everybody. So let's get started, I guess, with I think I want to say Andrea. I think you're up first.
Okay. So I got really excited. This one's a little different for us. This is someone who's just got an amazing life, and I wanted to tap into that amazingness. And I think she's got a life I know I would like to live, and it's very inspiring. So I picked Angela Georgina Burdett Coots, the first Baroness Burdett Coots.
Oh,
there she is. This great Victorian era woman was a philanthropist. And she was born in Piccadilly, London on the 21st of April, 1814. The youngest of 6 children. Her father was a politician and her mother was the daughter of a banker. In 1837, at the age of about 23, she became one of the wealthiest women in England when she inherited her grandfather's fortune when her grand stepmother passed away. So her grandfather had passed, left the money to his new wife, whatever, and then she left the money to Angela. It was approximately, I switched it all into American money. So in 1837, it was roughly 2.5 American dollars she was left, which translate, if you translate the money difference, right, from now to then, $250 million. American. So when she was 23, she inherited $250 million or whatever it is, $250 million from her grandfather's estate. Well, didn't she become the toast of the town? So she also ended up, which was very modern thinking, she changed her name. So she was originally Georgina Burdett. Her mother's last name was Coots. Her grandfather, who had all the money, was Coots. So she changed her name to Burdett Coots after her inheritance. She hyphenated the name. So like I said, she became the toast of the town and a subject of public curiosity. Who was this young girl who was so rich? She received numerous offers of marriage, as you can imagine, and lots of people trying to get to know her. She lived, obviously, then in high society with many famous friends and holding receptions at her country house she also inherited. King Edward VII is reported to have described her as, "After my mother, Angela is the most remarkable woman in the kingdom." Charles Dickens was a friend of hers and dedicated one of his books to her. So with all this fame, there was one person in her life she did stay devoted to, and that was her former governess and later in life companion, Hannah Brown. When Brown died in 1878, Angela wrote to a friend that she was utterly crushed by the loss of my poor darling, the companion and sunshine of my life for 52 years, which is really beautiful that she maintained that relationship with her governess and turned companion. Even though she was friends with all these glitzy people and whatnot, she, really, really had bonded with her governess. So what did she do with all this money? Well, she spent a majority of her wealth on scholarships, endowments, and a wide range of philanthropic causes. One of her earliest acts was to co-found with Charles Dickens a home for young women who had turned to a life of immorality, including theft and prostitution. So that was the one thing she first did, was to open a home for them. She avoided taking sides in politics, but she was actively interested in improving the condition places all over the world for the indigenous Africans, or education and relief for the poor and suffering in any part of the world. So at 23, she began to give and give and give. She didn't hoard the money. She gave, and she gave to a variety of causes. And I just feel like that is such a, gosh, when you just, don't we all kind of dream of having that life where you could just do so much good? So she also gave to, like, obviously many charities. She was the benefactor to build many churches, schools, and primary schools. She was the co-founder of the London Society for the Prevention of Cruelty Against Children. And she was also involved in the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. So I love her immensely for that.
Wow.
In 1864, she financed the Ordnance Survey of Jerusalem. The primary goal of that endeavor was to find better drinking water for those living in the city. And subsequently, she helped fund other explorations in the Holy Land, which I thought was quite interesting. She became a pioneer in social housing. So she had on her estate that she had inherited, she made a small housing unit, and a place that she lived. She called it Holy Village, on the corner of her estate. So not only did she help build something, but she even allowed it on her property. This is like big thinking. This is no wonder the king said she was so wonderful. She was doing things other people were clearly not. Through her support of missionary and nursing efforts, she was associated with people like Florence Nightingale. So we're talking about big things this woman was doing. Many other things she did. She was the only female patron in the Queen's Medical College in 1858. She created drinking fountains for dogs, like just such a wide spectrum of things.
Wow.
She helped Turkish peasants and refugees of the 1877 war. She supported organizations for the Aboriginal peoples of Australia. She did a placement for hundreds of destitute boys on training ships for the Navy and Merchant Service to give these boys, a potential career, putting them in the Navy. And she opened sewing schools for women when the silk trade declined. In 1871, in recognition for her philanthropic work, Queen Victoria named her Baroness. So that's when she got her Baroness title. She was not born a Baroness. She received it for all of her wonderful work from Queen Victoria bestowed that on her. In 1872, she became the first woman presented with the Freedom of the City of London. Now, this is where, I already love this woman. When Angela turned 67, okay, she shocked polite society by marrying her 29-year-old secretary, and he was also a member of parliament, American-born William Bartlett. So what is that? That's about 40 years younger than her.
Yeah.
And I mean, high five, sister. Good for you. So and he changed his name to hers. So again, very modern, very interesting. However, but this also makes her cool too. Because her husband was American, there was a clause in her stepmother's will forbidding her from marrying any foreign national. So unfortunately, that was brought forward at the time, and Angela had to forfeit 3/5 of her money to her sister. So at the age of 67, she lost a vast majority of whatever she had left to her sister because she married an American.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So even though the marriage was considered a bit of a scandal, it was very loving and long lasting. They didn't have kids together. Obviously she couldn't, but they didn't adopt or anything like that. But just another cool point that makes her cool is that she married for love. Like she lost 3/5 of however many millions were left because she wanted love. And just high five.
Yeah.
So after a tremendous life of doing wonderful things with what she could do, her life came to an end in 1906 in her 90s. So a nice long life. She died of acute bronchitis in her home. And at the time of her death, she had given millions and millions and millions to good causes, just, untold fortune to charities.
Wow.
Nearly 30,000 people passed by her coffin before she was buried in 1907 near the West Door at Westminster Abbey. So that's a lot of people, at that time to even know about her or go see her. And she left no heir, so her baroness title became extinct at her death. But wow, I just thought, I was reading about her. I got so excited. I thought, geez, what a life, man. Oh my God, to have all that money and be able to give and help. I mean, this lady, thank you, Angela.
No kidding. Wow. Amazing.
And again, not born into it, right? Inherited it, wasn't a baroness or whatever. I mean, her parents were doing okay, but not by any stretch.
Right.
What she inherited.
And as Marie points out, whoops, sorry, I missed it. As original cougar points out, she's the original cougar as well.
It's funny though, in her younger days, she obviously had lots of suitors, but she didn't like any of them. There was one man she actually proposed to, a duke, who was quite older than her, and he turned her down. So I guess she, wherever her love was, she went, whether they were older or younger. So she didn't marry until she met this American man. That's 40 years younger than her.
Wow.
Amazing.
And they said it was very loving and caring, and it, lasted. So, but don't you just feel through her, like, my God, like, to be able to do that? And aren't you glad that someone did it and could show others?
Yes.
I feel like she acted like an inspiration to others.
She said she was shocked when she crossed over. The amount of people that kind of came to her, kind of, how it's almost like when you get a life review, I guess, but it was playing out. People were lined up she said it was, well, to me, it's shocking. And people were lined up that she wouldn't have known or come across, that her helping saved their lives or directed in a better direction. Like they were going this way, but now going, and it was because of her and her foresight and help and acknowledging where, this this system was broken and needed help here and whatever, save them. There's droves of people, droves and droves. And if she had decided to hoard her money and not do anything with it, I'm talking, I can't even see the ends of these people.
Goodness.
The ends of the beginning. And she's showing me this view of, because she made that choice of, the ripple effect was immense.
It's so funny, Andrea, because the first thing that I got from her was that one of her life purposes was to be an example to others.
Oh,
One of the things she was here to do. And that she also had from the time she was small, she said she always saw people, animals as equal. Everything was very equal in her eyes. She didn't have any sense of hierarchy, even though she was in the position she was in and that kind of thing. She knew that it existed, but she didn't feel it. It wasn't something that she felt, and she just felt that people, the only thing that was different between people was their circumstance, their life circumstance. So it was she wanted to, equal that out, because she felt that everybody's worth was equal.
Which kind of makes sense why she didn't talk about politics, or she didn't, pick a side of religion or politics or whatever. She wanted to help everyone.
Right.
She didn't let that kind of stuff get in the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so enlightened, in that way, especially for that time too. You think about that time and all of this stuff in that time. It's like, even the philanthropy itself just seems so.
At 23.
Yeah. It just
started this stuff like early. Like, can you imagine you're 23 and you get all of this money and you decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do really good stuff with this. I'm not going to hoard it. Like you were saying, it's so, and I know that's how I would want to be. And I think a lot of us would want to be if we were put in that position and got that opportunity. As we see, there's a lot of rich people in the world today that maybe aren't doing those things, who could save a lot of people and aren't.
wow.
Well, that's the thing. If everybody did what she did, everybody that had that kind of money that did what she did, there wouldn't be any poor people or homeless people, or everybody would be taken care of. She was, So
Savannah's asking her astrology sign. She was born on April 21st. I'm not sure what that is. Gemini or something. I'm not sure, but someone will know. But I feel like she had a higher knowledge, higher understanding. This is something I feel it's more than her parents were instilling in her. She had some kind of direct connection to understand that animals, children, other people all needed help. And that was really important. And the fact, just says she put a place on the property she lived. Who was doing that in those days, or even now?
Right.
You think Jeff Bezos has a recovery center on his house in his front yard?
Right.
No.
Well, and people get so upset when things are even built in their neighborhood.
Right.
People will be up in arms because something, serving the poor is built in their neighborhood. So and again, that idea of being an example. She was supposed to be an example to other people how to be charity, how to be charitable,
Intention, so very strong intentions, and knew what she wanted to do from that young age to share. She's definitely an empath. I don't know if there's something else. I almost feel like there's something else with her. Like, ability.
Her connection is interesting. And I feel like, because she shows me when she was young, and talking to the angels. It's almost like she could see these angels that no one else could see.
Mm.
And then she shows me, but she also she's highlighting her mom as well. And I know you didn't say nothing in the story talks about her mom. It talks about her governess that she was really close to.
Yeah.
But something about her mom, something her mom taught her when she was young, that she was like, yes. And it just kind of
Resonated.
And so because she's like, I owe that to my mom, but or mother. So that's interesting as well. But it's curious about her connecting to animals and nature, all these things, and angels, but not in that's the only word she had for it. I don't know.
Like higher enlightened beings.
Yeah.
Whether it was angels or whatever.
Right, whatever. That's, I only have that, right.
Yeah, I get chills with that, Debbie. So I think that's, you're absolutely right about that. That's
these concepts of, these things that she built and had these wrapped her mind around and built these ideas. They're really forward thinking to a beautiful, good socialized network of giving people opportunities for equality and to find their way. The system was so broken. There was no hope for people who were born down the street in the gutter. You know what I mean? There was no ever any hope for them. They were always going to be there, and that needed to shift. And but so she's roping all these entities and something her mom had said to her early on, but giving her these directions on how to make that happen when she had the money to do it. Like there was no question. But she had this help. And that's so interesting. I wonder if her mom was one of her guides. Did it say when her mom died?
I didn't get that part. No.
Okay.
Sorry. That spiritual journey. You see her holding her heart, like just led with her heart. This was definitely a calling. She was put here for a reason. I mean, they just don't bury anyone at Westminster Abbey. Like,
yeah, it's such an honor.
Yeah. So she, I'm sure she's much more tremendous and was doing things, that can only know a little bit about through history, but I'm sure there was much more.
Oh my goodness. So when you sat and talked to her, you felt like you were in the presence of an angel. That presence was with her. Like I'm showing like her walking into a room and this energy that preceded her, and just sitting down with her, this energy moving around her. So I do feel like she was like very, very much walking in the spirit here. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Very connected. Preceded her. When you sat with her, you felt like you were in the presence of something great, bigger than you.
And her eyes are a very sparkly, a clear blue. Like there's something in her eyes. The picture on the top right, like if you see a large picture of it, her eyes are almost see-through. And, they're crystal blue. And she's very pretty when she was younger.
Right.
But there's something in her eyes, and when I was looking at them, I'm like, she's something else, like that angelic presence or something's going on with her.
Yeah. And she's saying, she said the word unburdened. And I feel like there's something about that wealthy people need to understand about the act of giving that unburdens them. It gives them something.
Yes.
And so, but she's, yeah. So anyway, that's the word she used when she heard you say that, unburdened. That
when you give, when you're of service, that's the most fulfilling thing you can be.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing it to help someone else, but it really can fill you completely. And it's
right.
So she must have been feeling good all the time.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's exactly it.
And you would have been drawn to her. There you go, Debbie, like that vibration, that frequency she was putting out, because she was feeling so good because she was helping people. That's what it's all about. Wow. Well, she's truly inspirational, and I hope all those who have millions and billions check her out. You know, all those billionaires, check her out and see what she did.
Yeah. Angela. Oh my gosh, that's right. Oh my gosh.
Angela, yeah. And the bond with her governess and the bond with her husband, you know, let go of a fortune for love. I think she was probably a pretty good person.
Yeah.
Pretty loyal, good person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, really, life of love and charity is really what she lived. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yay. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela. Yeah, that's a powerful being. I love it. Love her energy.
I know. Yeah, I was vibing her while I was reading her. I'm like, this is
wow.
Awesome. She's
wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Yeah. That's a great pick, Andrea. So I'm going to switch the energy up now.
we should do mine, and then we'll do
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because you're in alphabetical order. I would be next, but I bet you maybe we should do yours, then we'll do mine. Okay. So and Debbie.
Yeah. So there she is. Yosana. You can take Angela off. So people aren't confused.
No, I want to leave it on.
They're like, wait, what?
What's going on?
Okay, so
thank you.
My pick is Yosana Akiko. And Yosana Akiko, she was born December 7th in 1878. Yosana Akana was the pen name of this Japanese author, poet, pioneering feminist, pacifist, and social reformer, active in the late Meiji period, as well as I'm saying all these wrong, I'm sure, Taisho and early Showa periods of Japan. So just the earlier on in, so she was born in 1878, so it was a long time ago. And for, this is, okay, I'm going to continue to talk so you guys can be as amazed as I am, okay? Her name at birth was Shoho, or Hosho, and she is one of the most noted and most controversial post-classical women poets of Japan. She was born into a prosperous merchant family near Osaka. From the age of age 11, she was the family member most responsible for running the family business. 11, you guys. Wow. Which produced and sold a type of confection. From early childhood, she was fond of reading literary works and read widely in her father's extensive library. As a high school student, she began to subscribe to the poetry magazine Bright Star. So I'm saying it in English, but they do offer it in Japanese as well. But I'm going to just stick without butchering the language, okay? of which she became a prominent contributor to. So the editor of Bright Star, Tekon Yosano, taught her tanka poetry, having met her on visits to Osaka and Sakai to deliver lectures and teach in workshops. They later married. Yosana was not allowed opportunities to interact with the opposite sex, which she cites as the cause for her latent sexuality. She was not allowed to leave her home unaccompanied and could count the number of times she crossed the threshold of someone else's home. After being married, she reflects poorly upon her childhood. I realized for the first time how jaundiced, unfair, and dark my childhood had been. Yosana was married when she was 24 and went on to have 13 children, 11 which lived to adulthood. The two poets started a new life together in the suburb of Tokyo and were married in 1901. Tekon was married when he met Akiko and left his wife for her a year later. So he left his wife to marry Yosana. And after they met one another, Tekon had extramarital affairs during their marriage, including with his ex-wife. Well, I guess when you marry a poet. So let's see. Yosana, in 1901, Yosana brought out her first volume, Tangled Hair, which contained 400 poems and was mostly denounced by literary critics. Despite this critical reaction, it was widely read and became a sort of lighthouse for free thinkers of her time. Her first book, by far her best known, brought a passionate individualism to traditional tanka poetry, unlike any other work of the late Meiji period. The majority are love poems through which Akiko expresses her feelings towards Tekon Yasano. It was through this particular collection that she set an image for herself as well as the stage for female voices in modern Japan. The poems tended to express femininity in a manner unconventional for her time, especially from a female writer. In traditional Japanese values, women were perceived as and are expected to be gentle and modest. The domestic and society roles of Japanese women were and are focused on procreation and raising children, especially boys. She not only expresses concepts and issues that pertain to women and are not normally voiced in such a public manner, but also created a new revolutionary image of womanhood as lively, free, sexual, and assertive people. Nothing at all like the conventional picture of the modest, demure young lady expected in Japan. Yasana's women were not passive, but active agents of their love lives. In a typical tanka, Yosana wrote, "Spring is short. What is there that has eternal life?" I said, and made his hands seek out my powerful breasts. The writing posed a challenge to patriarchal values of Japanese society, as well as the accepted literary and cultural conventions of her time. Although Akiko Yosana's work was denounced and severely criticized, it served as a great source of inspiration to women of her day. The American scholar Hiromi Delasi noted, "The visual representation of flesh, lips, and breasts symbolize women's sexuality." No poet had written of breasts in a tanka before, which led the poet Nabutsuna Saki to attack her in a magazine article for corrupting public morals and mouthing obscenities fit for a whore from the example in her writings. The idea of nudity changed the way Japanese people viewed eroticism and female sexuality. Up until this point, women's breasts were a symbol for child feeding and motherhood. From then on, they began to take on a different representation, that of a natural beauty, and especially that of a young woman. A door was opened for Japanese women to imagine new representations of sexuality and the female body. She followed with 20 more anthologies over the course of her career, including Robe of Love and Dancer. Her husband, Tekon, was also a poet, but his reputation was eclipsed by hers. He continued to publish his wife's work and to did you hear that? He continued to publish her work and to encourage her in her literary career. Yosana was an extraordinarily prolific writer. She could produce as many as 50 poems in one sitting. During the course of her lifetime, it is thought that she had written up to 50,000 poems. She also wrote 11 books of prose, many of which neglected by literary critics and audiences. Yosana helped found what was originally a girls' school, in the Institute of Culture, together with Nishimori Kawasaki Natusi and others, and became its first dean and chief lecturer. She assisted many aspiring writers to gain a foothold in the literary world. She was a lifelong advocate of women's education. She also translated Japanese classics into modern Japanese, including The Tale of Genji and The Tale of Flowering Fortunes. Okay. Yosana's poem, Thou Shalt Not Die, addressed to her younger brother, was published during the height of the Russo-Japanese War and was extremely controversial. Made into a song, it was used as a mild form of anti-war protest, as the number of Japanese casualties from the bloody siege of Port Arthur became public. In September 1904, Yosana had learned that Japanese soldiers at Port Arthur were being used as human bullets, being strapped with explosives and sent to blast holes through the Russian barbed wire entanglements in suicide missions. Yosana's younger brother was serving in the Imperial Army and attached to the forces besieging Port Arthur. It was the highest honor for a man to die for the emperor, and knowing of her brother's impulsive nature, Yosana was seized with fear that he might become a volunteer to be a human bullet, inspiring her to write the poem, pledging with him to think of his widowed mother. Addressing to her brother, Yosana wrote, "Did your parents make you grasp the sword and teach you to kill? For you, what does it matter whether the fortress of Port Arthur falls or not?" Yosana attacked the central concept, noting that it was the greatest honor for a man to die for the emperor, who she sarcastically noted never put himself in harm's way, expecting others to die for him. For calling the war in Russia senseless and stupid, Yosana made herself into Japan's most controversial poet, and the government attempted to ban her poem. It was also unpopular that Yosana's house was stoned by angry people, while she became involved in a rancorous debate with a journalist over the question of whether poets had the duty to support the war or not. So it goes on. She continues to speak her mind as far as her anti-war, anti-violence in her poetry. Yosana Franklin wrote of all for the all women literary magazine, Blue Stocking, as well as other publications. Her opinions were rooted in the concept of equally partaking in child rearing, financial independence, and social responsibility. So equality. She was fighting for equality for women. So she was a big advocate for this as well, and goes on to talk about that. So here she was in her time fighting for women's rights, equality, it just in general, equality in gender, and bringing women out of the shadows into the light, and embracing their own self-love and self-recognition, and but also equal rights, and against the war, and stuff like that. So I just was just in awe of her bravery, and as she came and broke through some huge walls of what women were expected of, or all of that. Anyway, so she was a pioneer, opening the door for not only the women in Japan, but also all over the world.
And in such a gentle way through poetry.
Poetry.
That's quite something. It wasn't with a bullet or a gun or a knife or anything.
Right.
Or, through gentle poetry.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of the 60s too, but we're talking late 1800s. 1800s, early 1900s, right? So, but yeah.
When you said she would write a lot at once, I was feeling like she was kind of in a trance, getting a download. So I don't know if she would meditate or get in some kind of zone or ritual. I almost see her like, and then
getting in that zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like channeling, huh?
Yeah.
Well, and I heard when she first read poetry, when she first learned how to write poetry, she said it was like a light lit up her mind. And all of a sudden she had a way, it was that she felt it. It was something she felt, like being struck, and she realized she had finally found a way to express herself, to express things that she had felt, to express things that she had wanted to express, but didn't really know how. And the other impressive thing about her, Debbie, is that not only that meek and mild, that at the time, Japanese women, just meek and mild, quiet, don't, and here she is not only speaking her own truth, right? Speaking how she feels about things and how she, but also speaking truth to power too. It's just amazing. In that the position she was in at that time, as a woman, and being able to speak truth to power is something people are, we see it even now. People are still afraid to do, for fear of what might happen to them or what could, and here she is, this, Japanese poet telling them exactly how she feels about everything, you know.
Marrying this free loving poet. She married a free loving poet
Yeah.
who they continued just passionate love together, even though she doesn't have a problem with that. Like oh yeah, no, he loved everybody. But freedom goes both ways.
Yeah.
Did she ever get in trouble? Like, were the laws strict at that time? Or I mean, if they could publish her book, her poetry, especially with the sexuality part, like empowering a woman.
Yeah.
That way. That would be revolutionary.
Yeah.
Exactly. That a woman had a voice and and desires even.
Desires.
So,
yeah.
You're coming from a time that women didn't have desires. It was all the man, right? So you had to fulfill the man's women didn't have desires, right? So she was going against that. She's like, oh yeah, women have desires and this is what we want. You know what I mean? Like that. So opening that side up for that awakening.
That's very touching about her brother too. What a story that she was writing, not wanting him to be a bullet. And does it matter if who owns that land or whatever? Yeah, whatever the effort was. Does it matter?
I think that's risky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was risky on her part.
And pointing out the people that ask you to do this stuff don't do it themselves. So, pointing that out as well in such a public way is, yeah.
So she's showing me here, she's telling me the link here, equality, and connecting to Angela or whatever, that equality piece. She saw people as equal, and women are equal, and these boys on the battlefield are equal to the emperor, who they're saying, hey, it's an honor to die for it's equal. There's no honor in dying for someone who wouldn't do it for you.
I got the shifting card. So trying to shift people's awareness through her poetry, trying to get people to see what she could see. That shift of understanding about life, value, equality, like Debbie said. And I feel like tons of people read her stuff back then, even if it was in secret.
Yes.
Right.
Her book, hiding it. And I feel like a lot, especially women, I just got the tingles on that. They were like, give me more of this, because they were, it's not like she was the only woman to feel empowered or sexual or desires or have whatever these thoughts were. And other women reading this were like, oh, yes, me too.
Yeah.
There's a real sense of pride for the school that they did. But she's saying that her life was hard. Her life was hard.
The younger life where she felt so,
Oh, that love. Maybe she's talking about that loving, that first.
Didn't you say
that tells she was 20-something, right? She was in that home.
And didn't even go.
I'm like looking. I'm like, where are you talking hard? You were this poet. It sounded like you had more freedom than others. But there's a hardship here. She felt. She did have 13 children. I mean, that's
hard. That's a little hard.
That's tiring. But she describes it as hard. I think what she's bringing in here. Okay, thank you. And she is saying, because it wasn't equal.
Yes.
Because it wasn't equal. It's so much expected on that woman to take care of whatever. Yeah. And still she was, doing her writing, and still she was doing the school and making and changing the world that way. But she still had these other expectations to fill. can you imagine the laundry alone?
Or making dinner, lunch, anything.
Without modern conveniences too. They didn't, there's not like they had modern conveniences.
No, you had to. Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the frustrating thing on any minority or women, sexual orientation, is that people just want equality. They don't want what you have and all that you have. Yeah. They just want an equal shot, an equal, to be seen as equal. That's it. Mm-hmm. And and what's the big deal?
Yeah. Exactly. And that was part of the piece I didn't read because the reading was getting too long. She did so much, you guys. So, but is that equal rights for women,
right.
That the government would go, okay, well, and she's like, no, I want it equal to man. You know what I mean? So she kept fighting that. She kept fighting the system to make it equal for women in something to do with, having the baby. So that was a big thing to her. Yeah. Spot on. Okay.
Yeah, like I'm saying, 13 births is just astounding. Astounding.
Yeah, and no washing machine back then. It still isn't equal. No. But we're going to get to that next.
Yes.
But so I'm going to see if she has a message for us too. I'm just so honored to meet her. I'm honored to be in her presence because what she did as a regular, regular, and at that time period, and the change she was able to make from not just from an ordinary life, not somebody that was given extraordinary, whatever, but from an ordinary space, she was just from writing some words down, was able to make huge ripple changes in society there and across the globe, because people were reading her poems. You better believe people were reading her poems around the world.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting too, because both of these ladies, I don't know if you guys had the same feeling, they seem so, their spirits are so loving and light. But they seem so in a way down to earth. Very, and I feel like they're doing that on purpose. they're like making themselves like we're just like you, we're you. And I feel like, again, like you said, that equality, we're equal, we're all the same. And to not put people up, here and yourself down here, or vice versa, because it just isn't the way that it is. But they both come across so likable and so relatable is what it is. You think that you can't. How would you relate to this philanthropist that was wealthy and gave all her money away, and a poet that lived in Japan? But they come across so likable and relatable, and I feel like it's to make a point, because I felt that from both of them. You didn't feel like you were like in the presence of this.
Yeah.
There's no ego with them.
No, exactly.
Not like that. No.
That's right, Andrea. Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful presence to be in, both of them.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure she wants to come back yet. I'm not sensing that she's come back. Someone asked, does she want to be here again?
I didn't get that impression with our last lady too. Yeah. I did either one. I didn't feel like they were back yet.
Or she was back either. Yeah. Helping from the other side. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Oh, today's the 12th. So 12/12/22.
12, a lot of twos. 12, 12, 12.
Lots of twos today.
All right.
Well, thank you, Yosana.
Deb says she's probably still recovering from all those kids.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine that.
doubt.
Just unbelievable. Well, okay. And now I guess kind of switching gear, but I guess not. Now I see why you said that, Debbie. So thanks for going next. And then we can move into this.
Yeah.
Next.
Good flow this way, I think.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right, guys. This was a historical day, but we're going to talk about an event. And I picked the event that is the 2017 Women's March. This is pretty recent history, but I think we all remember this day. Probably remember where we were during this day. On the first full day of Donald Trump's presidency, hundreds of thousands of people crowded into the U.S. Capitol for the Women's March on Washington. A massive protest in the nation's capital aimed largely at the Trump administration and the threat it represented to reproductive, as we know, civil and human rights. At the same time, more than 3 million people in cities across the country and around the world held their own simultaneous protests in a global show of support for the resistance movement. It was the largest single-day protest in U.S. history. The idea of the Women's March began on the social networking website Facebook the day after the election, when a Hawaiian woman named Teresa Shook voiced her opinion that a pro-women's march needed to take place as a reaction to Trump's victory. After thousands of women signed up to march, veteran activists and organizers began planning a large-scale event scheduled for January 21st, 2017, the day after the inauguration day. Leading up to the Women's March on Washington, the organizers expected some 200,000 people to attend, and as it turned out, as many as 500,000 showed up.
Wow.
With buses, trains, airplanes, and packed cars ferrying large amounts of protesters to the Capitol from far-flung locations. On the same day, millions more people took part in sister marches held in all 50 states and more than 30 foreign countries.
Yes, Canada.
Ranging from Antarctica to Zimbabwe. According to later estimates collected by the Washington Post, some 4.1 million people reportedly took part in the various women's marches across the United States, along with around 300,000 worldwide.
Yep.
So, I mean, you talk about a moment in time, right? A reaction in time.
Mm-hmm.
This was reactive. I mean, it really was. I remember that day.
I do too. I marched.
Yeah. I marched too. We marched. We had a little thing here in our hometown, and then we watched everything, all the goings on TV in Washington, and because I think all women felt kicked to the side when this person was elected after all he had done and said, and it really felt like, after having Obama president, it felt like we were getting somewhere, and then it really felt like I just felt the disdain for women. I mean, it really just felt like such a kick in the teeth. So we all felt that. And then to have this march, we read on events now, the three of us read on events now, because we wondered what happens when an event like this takes place, or any kind of big event takes place. What happens to the energy? What does it do? And this one, when I was preparing for this, I all of a sudden got the feeling that it's almost like the vibration raised a little bit on that day. There was something that we actually did vibration wise to the earth itself when this happened. Because so I just kind of wanted to get your feelings about the day, but also and the people in the chat as well, because I'm sure they remember this very, very well. And to read on this, because what an amazing event. And you can see Gloria Steinem there and all the and the hilarious signs that people had. And I mean, it just raised people's mood and made them feel empowered again. And I mean, amazing.
It felt like it was almost a primal no, like just no more, no, just that feminine energy collectively just say no. And making and not quietly, like as you said, it was here in Canada, it was everywhere. And it was because he became the face of what we're just fed up with. He's not the only one who acts that way or thinks that way, but he's such a symbol of it.
He's a symbol of it, isn't he?
And it was just like, no, like we hear this guy, everyone knows he's like this. How can he be president of a country? Just no.
And I don't feel, Kim, that this is a mistake that we are reading this today, because we did lose Dorothy Pittman Hughes today, one of the greats, the feminist greats, who stood hand in hand with the leaders of this back in the day. And so Gloria Steinem that you saw. So she passed today at 84. So I don't feel like it's a mistake. I'm getting all emotional. I just a lot of emotions around this. So I just, the tingles, the women coming in. I'm telling you, if I had the lights off and we had the camera going, I don't even know what would be happening.
The army of orbs.
I mean, and my head is tingling. Everybody's here. And when it really rushed in was when you were talking about what happened vibrationally globally that day. 100% spot on. It was a shift in that energy. When you get that amount of people with that amount of intention, it will change things. They want to see more of it. We have to do more of that. Global connecting. I do my little connecting in on Sundays, and we do our shifting, our what we can do, but we need more of that, they said. More of that linking in, like that, where you get the 4 million people out on a day with the same intention, shouting the same thing. It changes the vibration, and you can't go backwards from that. We've already shifted into that new vibration. So now if we do it again, guess what? We get to shift more, they said. So that's good. Whoa. Hello.
I got amazing card. It says elevate.
Oh, wow.
Thermometer, right? Self-worth. Elevate yourself. The thermometer exploded. Like the temperature got so hot for us, we're just like, enough. And the back of the card says, you get what you believe you deserve. It's time to raise your standards. So, right? We did, and we are standing up together to get what we deserve, because we believe in it. We believe in us. And it's time to raise the standards. We still aren't there yet.
Right.
I still can't believe it, but we still aren't there yet. But we're raising it. We're shifting that vibration as we thank the sisters before us. It's a movement. And someone said we need another march, and I absolutely agree. I think there should be another one. It shouldn't stop.
Dorothy Hughes There she is, beautiful Dorothy Hughes. And there she is with Gloria Steinem.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Mm.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Every time I talk to her, I start crying. Sorry, guys.
Aw.
No, it's
We're gonna. I do want to bring her in, but I wanted to give her a minute before
yeah.
before we
It's
start calling her back into duty here. So, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
But yeah, this day was well, and like you said, anytime you bring people together on a worldwide scale too, and like you said, that same intention, that same you know desire for change, for something to change, something to be different. That's what it's all about. I mean, vibration, that's everything, right? That's it. So but it was, yeah, it was a like you said, a giant no, that we're not going to be going backwards. We are literally going forwards, and we're going to do it today. We're gonna lift us out of this today. And a lot of things changed after that. A lot of more women were involved, started getting involved in politics, getting into, the Senate, the House, getting into, governorships. Yeah, it was a lot of things shifted.
It didn't sort of Me Too kind of happen around that time, and Weinstein and these other cases getting more light and attention, and women ready to stand up together and support or help each other if they wanted to talk about those things. And shout out to the men that do support and have supported the movement as well.
Right.
But it just no more. It's like there's a line in the sand. Like, no, we don't accept that you allow a man like that to be president, who's clearly, amongst many other things, completely chauvinistic.
Yes, exactly.
Sexist, all that kind of stuff. That's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay to talk like he was talking in the van with that guy, the newscaster guy or whatever, about, you can just grab him by the, really?
Yeah, you would have thought in any other given time that would have been like, that's the end of him, but no. Okay, so I have a message coming in from the crowd. There's I guess a group of folks who have been screaming. So we have like Dorothy, who's 84. So we have a whole age group. We've already screamed. We've been fighting for this for so long, and have. So anybody who connects in with this energy of, but we're the ones that risked our lives standing at the courthouse or standing in the courtrooms shouting and being dragged out and put in handcuffs, arrested. We did that. Why are we still here? To those they want to bring a message to, this crowd of people here, your sisters and your brothers, who were there too, and some who weren't there but have been fighting over the ages, they want to say to you, it has always been a progressive ripple. And yes, sometimes it feels like we're still here fighting. No, it's a little bit further this way, a little bit further this way. It's been little steps, but ripples have taken place. So please take courage. And please keep your voice going. Don't stop using. Don't stop just because it's like I already did that. I already held the sign. I already. No, every single time you do it, there's a ripple effect. immense ripple effect that you have no idea. And so please, they are honoring you, but they also want you to don't get into the energy of I've already been doing that. I'm so tired.
Right.
Why are we still here? They want you to let go of that energy and step into, we are continuing the forward movement here. Our voice is strong, our voice is loud, and our voice is better together. So that is the message they want to bring in for those who are tired.
That is perfect. And I felt the same thing about being fatigued. Don't be fatigued. Don't
Okay. So
don't don't allow yourself to get fatigued. And you're right. And we're still seeing the ripples from all of that, from like you said, with Me Too, and with and just things that are happening like in Iran and places like, I mean, all of these things they are so energetically connected, that wanting to again, going back to equality, right? Wanting that equality, just to be treated equally.
Yeah. Yes.
That's it, you know? That's it. And events like that too, when you do feel like events like that can just be so uplifting, and clearly it uplifted not only people, individually, but also, vibrationally, it did something. It did something that we're, like you said, Debbie, we're still feeling today. It's that ripple, and every time something like that takes place, it just adds on to it.
Yeah.
It can't, like you said, it can't be.
We're becoming a tidal wave. We're becoming a tidal wave. Come on.
Exactly.
Come on,
We are,
everybody. Come on, everybody.
So keep being the tidal wave, everybody. Be a wave, right? Be a wave in the tidal wave.
They're just saying you are all so beautiful. You beautiful people. Be your absolutely beautiful selves, and let it be out loud.
Mm-hmm.
No more hiding yourselves. There's so much of this, some of these old narratives that play out that we don't even subconsciously, that, like, and they're showing me the links here that tell you to be quiet and submissive, or that tell you, even though you're like, I didn't grow up in that era, I wasn't tired. There is a little bit, there's still inferences of it that society has said that women need to be this way, and be your full, beautiful selves out loud. Be proud of that. Be proud of who you are fully. Your no matter what body type you are. Love you. You are absolutely gorgeous and beautiful human being right now. And so love yourselves, and get out there and be out loud, and continue this ripple forward. Make it a tidal wave.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, I think that's a great note to end on, because I think that's exactly
powerful.
Exactly right. Very powerful. Thanks, Debbie. And thank you, Andrea. Thank you all,
and all those people behind you.
I see all these amazing women that are here now, that are listening, and then everybody in the chat, and we just have to go and continue. That's part of what we're here to do. All of us, every single one of us, we're going to do it. So let's go. Do it in your own way, right?
March on. We march.
Philanthropist, a poet, and do it in your own way.
What does that look like? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, ladies. So where are we next week?
Andrea's.
Okay. All right. So everybody, we will see you on Lilac Lantern next week. And thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you,
everybody, for coming up. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.